with B-Bad and Brandon.
We are live.
There's a shark in the back there. Is that a shark I see?
In mine?
Yeah,
Where?
just like over
Not a
there.
shark.
What is that? It's got teeth. Is it a spider?
Oh,
Bear related thing. I'll show you.
Yeah, we need to see that.
It's like a game, so it's actually a little koala, little drop bear, and you've got to take turns pushing down teeth, and
Yep.
and not be the one that it bites.
I had that game as a kid.
Yeah, except it's a drop bear.
I am just gonna give a quick. Bro, how did you even see that?
I've got glasses now.
So do I.
Can see everything.
Fuck. Oh well, there you go. Well, welcome to the Platform Podcast. It's a very special guest and someone that I have so many questions for because, well, I'll let you introduce yourself. Actually, that's probably a better way to do it than me fumbling around. But Johnny, you have one question for Danielle.
Danielle, you have the opportunity to use 21 words and or sounds to describe who you are and what you do. Brandon will count every single of those words and sounds. Are you ready?
Sure. Does that count?
Oh, no one's ever asked that, but I will let that pass because I was not ready to count.
A professional MMA fighter. My name is Drop Bear, proudly Australian. I think I've got to be able to get points for like keeping it that short.
I feel like you skipped out a whole bunch of good stuff though.
Yeah, but I feel like that's what we're going to get into.
Yes, that's very fair. That is very fair. Obviously, you just touched on that you are an MMA fighter, and I think you were very humble in it. After a quick Instagram stalk, I did see that you're a triple champ across a few different categories. Tell us where it all began for you and the journey into becoming a professional MMA.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's been a wild journey. I actually wasn't growing up. I wasn't good at any kind of sport. I'm not a natural athlete. I'm not good at anything like that. I couldn't. I'd be the last person picked sports or teams, or just not picked at all. I tried really hard. So it wasn't until I moved away from the tiny little town that I grew up in, which is Hay. The town's called Hay in southwestern New South Wales. So I moved to Canberra to go to university, and that's when I first saw like a UFC card, and I kind of fell in love with the sport. But I just became a massive fan. I still didn't think I would ever train. I definitely didn't think I would ever fight. And then so it was a handful of years later when I actually had, a job and all of that kind of stuff, that a Muay Thai gym opened up right next to where I was working. So I walked in there, thought I'd try it out. Very quickly realized that I didn't want to do Muay Thai. I really wanted to do MMA, but that was the thing that happened to get me in the door. And then the combat sports community is very, very small. And the Muay Thai instructor helped me find my first MMA coach. But yeah, so that's how it all started.
That's quite ironic.
So rad.
Ironic's probably not the right word, but it's interesting that you said, you were never a good athlete growing up, or you weren't picked for those sports, because a lot of those people usually then transition into what Johnny and I really coach as barbell sports. But you went you went full in depth on the athlete train into one of the toughest sports you can ever imagine.
It's honestly so weird and so surreal. Like every time someone calls me an athlete, it's still weird to me. Like, and I think it'll never not be weird, because it's so ingrained in my brain that was something that I wasn't good at and I wasn't naturally gifted at. And yeah, I loved it. I love the idea of, getting on a sporting team and get to go travel somewhere outside of Hay and play, or get a day off school or whatever. Like I was a big nerd too, but like I just wanted to do everything. So I tried really, really hard. And I think that's the part that's made me successful, is like being able to continue to work hard even if you don't see results, because I never had results. But yeah, it's still super weird to me being an athlete. And it was crazy when I represented Australia at the Gamma World Championships. Like,
Wow.
to me, whenever you get to represent your country in a sporting thing, like, that's got to be sort of everyone's dream. And it definitely is mine, but it was not one that I ever had or thought that I would do.
Yeah, right.
Obviously, when I got given the opportunity, that I was like, there is no way I would ever turn down representing my country, walking out with the flag and all of that kind of stuff. And then, winning a gold medal and, hopping on the podium and everyone having to sing your national anthem and stuff, like, that's a dream. But it wasn't a dream that I ever had until it happened.
Yeah, of course.
So,
it's just, that's so incredible though. Like, and what did you study at uni? Just a little side note. Sorry.
I'll give you guys a guess each, and see what you come up with.
Oh,
I'm going to go science. You did science.
I was really hoping you'd give another hint or a yes or no after Johnny said that. Can you give us like a yes or no if it was a type of science?
It actually was a type of science, so I'm pretty impressed by that.
Okay. All right. I'm going geologist.
So I actually studied forensic science.
Fuck!
There we go.
Nowhere near it. Yep.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason I asked that though is because you spoke a little bit earlier about working hard and not seeing results. And for anyone that's been at uni, like, it is a hard slog to just show up every day and go through the motions almost of just learning and understanding all this knowledge, applying it, and then seeing the results after 6 months of a semester, 4 years of a degree. So, and that always will tie back into other fields and transitions of skills across. And it's just so interesting to me that during that phase, you then discover this hidden talent, we'll call it.
Yeah, well, even then though, I didn't train until after university because I was too broke. Like, martial arts training, as with any training, is expensive, especially when you're a uni student and you're really living off of not much money. So,
yep.
Yeah, expensive is all relative, but when we talk around that sort of scenario, you're fresh into turning 18, and then you're you're a very young adult studying. It is expensive, so that was part of it. And yeah, I just become like the biggest fan of the sport ever. During that time, I went back and watched everything and prior to when I first started watching it, and then everything since. So, and I think that's kind of helped me since actually becoming a fighter myself, is that I had watched so much and constantly watched so much, and I'm so involved, like it's my whole life. Because I don't just fight, I'm also a commentator. So if I'm not fighting, most weekends I'm either commentating or I'm an official. So if I'm not commentating, I'm officiating. I'm also a matchmaker for a show, head matchmaker for a show. So the person that, finds all the people who are going to fight on the show and make the appropriate matchups on their show. Yeah. So I mean, like, it's my whole life.
It's your everything.
Not just fighting, because it's my passion, and I'm still a fan. I'm still a massive fan. So yeah, it's still kind of weird. In terms of the athlete stuff too, I actually had a really weird, surreal moment just recently. So the gym that I'm at decided that we'd do some like base level athletic testing. So things like your 1 rep maxes, but then also your agility test, beat test, all of that kind of stuff. And I did them, and I kind of blew myself away, because in an individual sport, it's you against you in terms of training, in terms of that sort of, like, obviously we train all together to become a better fighter, but in terms of like your strength and conditioning to become a better athlete, you're not kind of necessarily like, I do mine at home on my work from home days to fit it in my schedule.
Yeah.
And so, and I also don't have any female training partners. I've never had any female training partners specifically to MMA. Had plenty that, like, I've gone and done training with some people. A lot of the time I've done some striking with Muay Thai girls, or, you know, in my gym, there's definitely girls who do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but not any that are fighting MMA that do it all. Like, so, you know, they're all men. So when I compare myself to men, even of the same sort of general size, like, I'm always going to be that bit inferior. So to me, it's kind of one of those things. I never knew where I sat with other women, and it didn't bother me. But until we did this testing and I sort of, you know, was scoring and all the high bands for everything, that I kind of realized, oh, wow. Okay, I understand why people call me an athlete then. Like, you know, like, it's still weird to me, but because I'd just been grinding away every day to, like, me against me. I just want to be better than I was yesterday, having no concept of where I sat relative to other females. So, yeah.
But that's probably gifted you so much more than, like, going up against those females. Then, you know, it's just a competition with yourself. Like, and at the end of the day, you know, you are directly in competition with another person in the ring, but
quite literally trying to kill you.
Like, you 100% from all that effort of doing the things, grinding by yourself, you just have this unwavering self-confidence in yourself. It's like, well, fuck it, I can just do this.
I don't know about that. The mental side of fighting is by far the hardest part.
It is mental.
It's 99.9% mental, I would say. And also, like we talked about, it's all well and good to be a great athlete, but you actually need to be a good fighter first.
Need to be an athlete while you're being okay with being punched in the head.
Yeah, well, you need to be a good fighter, and then, like, your 1%ers are becoming a better athlete so that can help you with your fighting. But if you don't know how to fight, it doesn't matter how good of an athlete you are.
No, not at all.
But yeah, doing all of those things definitely helps add to that confidence, though, and learning how to draw on those things to build that confidence. Like, for me, it's almost exactly what you're saying in terms of, like, one of the ways that I do ease my mind and build confidence on fight day is I put in the work every day so that when I get to fight time, because you never feel prepared enough. You always think there's more work you could have done, but at least I know, and I can genuinely, hand on heart, get to fight day and go, I did absolutely everything I could. And that like puts my mind at ease. If I'm like cheating my diet, or I'm choosing not to go to class because, you know, I'm a bit sore, or it's like a friend's birthday or something, like there was times where I had tickets to go see a band, and I had them for 2 years because they had to reschedule, and it was coming up to a really big fight, and I ended up selling them because I couldn't allow myself to go, because if I lost, I wouldn't have been able to forgive myself. I would have been asking those questions, well, what if you didn't go and you had to went to training instead?
But that's all part of that process of just building evidence that you can recall on those, in those nervous moments, to go, as you said, like, I've done the work. You're just building that repertoire of this a file that you can just recall on every time to go, no, I've got this. Because as you said, it is 99% mental. I mean, everything, any endeavor we take will be 99% mental, and 1% being, or, you know, you can use the 80-20 rule for whatever sake you want, but, like, your skill is learning how to throw a punch and making sure you don't get hit. And I'm obviously really fucking simplified that for my peanut brain, but in essence, like, that's your skill.
It.
What you do in the weight room is secondary to becoming a masterful and skillful fighter.
100%. Yeah.
How many fights have you done?
Good question. So I think 12 amateur fights, a Muay Thai fight, and then a couple of pro fights as well. So about 15.
Damn.
altogether, 15 or 16.
Over what time frame?
Well, I had my very first fight, I think, in 2017, and then I had a couple of fights in that first 12 months, and then I couldn't find a fight for 2 years, and then I had a fight, and then COVID happened, so that was like another 2 years. So it seems like a much longer time period than it really is. So I've had 9 fights since February of 2022.
Oh, nice.
So that's a very short amount of time. So I actually had 8 fights in just under a year and a half. So from February 2022 to July 2023, I had 8 fights. So
wow,
I didn't have many in the beginning.
Seems like a lot.
That's a lot.
Yep.
Like when you look at the UFC fighters, a lot of them will only have 2, maybe 3 a year. So that was a lot. So I'm slowing down a bit now in my pro career, ensuring that I'm, leveling up between each fight. And just making sure that, I'm allowing my body to recover and then, potentially go into those. It'd be similar to, like weightlifting or anything like that, where you want to spend time building your body back up, maybe a strength phase, you put on a bit of weight because, weight divisions, and then be cutting back down and that kind of stuff as well. And like I had jumped around weight divisions so much in my amateur career. Like I didn't have 2 fights back to back at the same weight. And that takes a big, a big toll. Yeah. So 7 fights in a row. We're going 66, 61, 66, 61, 59, 61, 56. So between 66 and 56.
Tiny.
And when you're fighting people, like it's and especially in MMA where, size difference, weight difference, especially in the grappling component makes a big difference. So like I took a lot of risks, but it did pay off in terms of becoming the first ever sort of triple weight division champ. So I'm pretty certain I was the first person to ever do that in MMA in terms of holding all 3 titles at the same time. Lots of people have competed in different weight divisions over the duration of their whole career. As they get older, they go up or go down or whatever. But I held all 3 at the same time. So that's a first. And that only happens because I was willing to take big risks that other people weren't. And there's a lot more that comes with trying to bring a competitive package at all these different weights. Like a lot of time spent with my strength and conditioning coach and my dietitian. And especially like cutting weight is very difficult. But putting on size in a short amount of time and usable size, not just dirty bulking, because I mean,
Floppy.
MMA, because MMA, you have to still be everything. And that's why it's the hardest. Like other sports, there's sort of specific characteristics for that sport for success. But in MMA, you have to be everything. You have to be fast. You have to be strong. You have to be mobile. You have to have agility, but you also have to have endurance. Yeah, and you have to be everything. So
you have to be a skilled fighter, but also a really high level athlete.
Yeah,
because as you said, you become the shape of your sport.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
and that's actually, I can't believe there's so many weight cuts back to back. That must have been rough. But surely by the end of those, 9 fights or however many it was, you were feeling pretty beat up.
No, I definitely accumulated some injuries, but I'll tell you this, and I'm pretty sure any fighter you ever speak to will tell you this. I have never in my life gone into a fight 100% healthy, no injuries, etc. So
always something.
It is, it is always something. Always crappy circumstances or whatever. But that's part and parcel of it. So I definitely had some injuries, and I actually had to take a fair bit of time off. I took a fair bit of time off between, so not my most recent fight, but the one before that. Because I did have a few injuries that had all caught up to me. And I just wanted to, I just wanted to take a bit of a break and, as I said, slow down a little bit. because in your amateur career, like it's all just experience, all gets wiped once you go to pro anyway. Take the risks, take the fights, take the opportunities, because as a female, it's really hard to find fights. But at pro, slow down, make sure you're actually better for each fight.
Because your win-loss ratio becomes so important when you become towards a pro fighter, right? You need momentum of wins to step your way up the ranks to get to bigger, better promotions or bigger, better fighters, right?
Yeah, and there's no easy fights at pro, and if you want to make it to the big leagues, you can't just fight favourable matchups. You got to fight the tough people, the hard fights, and that involves taking risk, which is why that's something that I did in my amateur career. I fought all the tough people at whatever weight division they wanted. So
beat them.
Most of them. As I always say though, like if you are genuinely in this sport, fighting the toughest people, loss is inevitable. So like even when we look at the highest level, if you're genuinely fighting the toughest people, you'll never be able to keep that zero. And I think you're doing something, picking favourable fights if you are maintaining that.
At what moment throughout your amateur, your first fight or your amateur fight, did you go, fuck, I could actually really give this a crack and become champ?
I don't know if I ever thought that. I don't know if I ever thought, I can take this all the way, or I should do that. But from the second that I actually started training MMA, I was immediately like, okay, I need to fight. I have to. I have to have a fight. And then as soon as I had the fight, as soon as I was there, my first fight, I was like, all right, this is what I'm doing. Like I'm going to give it a crack and take it as far as I can. And I'm going to give it my all. But it's hard because still in the back of my mind, even now, I still think of myself as the kid from high school. As in like, I'm not good at anything, but I'm just going to give it a crack, and I'm going to give it everything I've got. And again, that's still kind of my thought process too, is like, it's hard because I'm conflicted, because I watch a UFC fight and I'll be like, I can do that. Like I have the skills to do that, but I don't. And like, I genuinely believe that I can go and chase that dream, and that is the dream and the goal, become champion in the biggest organization there is. But it still comes from that mindset of like, I'm just going to push it as far as I can.
And is that what the pathway is for you, or the goal, like to get, because you fight in Australia at the moment, is that right?
No, my last fight was actually in Canada.
Oh, wow. Ooh. So more experience overseas is what you got to do?
Yeah, look, it doesn't matter whether it's here in Australia or overseas. There's some great promotions here in Australia. At the end of the day, I just need to be making sure that I'm fighting the tough fight, genuine opponents that are tough, and obviously getting wins, putting on good performances. It's not enough to just edge out. Like I'm always a fighter that looks for finishes and looks to dominate. Pretty much all of my wins, bar I think 2, have been finishes. So
nice.
Pretty, yeah. And I know that that's what they're looking for, and they don't care what specifically promotion you fight on. Obviously, the bigger organizations like middle tier provide better exposure and slightly higher quality, but don't care if it's here, overseas. I just need to be fighting good opponents, and the rest is up to me to go out there and beat them and put on a show. So.
And then is there a real element of self-promotion for you that comes after that, to try and get that larger exposure for someone like a UFC or a big organization to be like, hey, we got a spot, we need this girl?
Yeah, absolutely. So these days you can't just be a good fighter. That's not enough. You need to be marketable. You need to have a reason why they want you. So having, a following, having people that support you, having a nation that supports you, or in general, if you can show you're marketable and you bring value, absolutely. So, I mean, like, I am pretty active on my social media. That's all me. I like to make funny videos, and then obviously like highlights and stuff like that. I want to have a podcast. Like, I want people to get to know me on that other level as well. But self-promotion, and I guess, people getting behind you definitely helps. But just trying to get the attention of the people that make the decisions. And I know what I've got to do, and that's keep fighting, put on exciting fights, win against tough opponents. So.
And now, where did the name Drop Bear come from? You've been like, he's going to ask this any day, any second now.
Of course. Obviously, I am a proud Australian, and I always will be. Obviously, as Australians, we all know what a drop bear is. So, given this is an Australian podcast, I'll let you know. Basically, when I was a super fan and I had just sort of started training, I had because all the biggest MMA news used to break on Twitter first. So I had Twitter, and I had a group of friends that I'd made through Twitter from all different parts of the world, and we would chat in there every time a UFC card was on. And basically, they had sent a news article in there being like, I never want to come to Australia. You people are crazy, kind of thing, because of all the animals you have to worry about. The news article was a video of a guy with a BB long neck in his hand. He's in the river up to about here, and and it's taken by people who are clearly tourists, and they thought this guy was being attacked. It was clearly a pet, but basically there's a snake swimming at him. He picks it up, throws it, and then it swims back at him like it's trying to attack him. I'm pretty certain it was clearly a pet snake and he's playing with it. But and they're like, you guys are crazy. Everything tries to kill you. And basically I did this stereotypical Australian thing and said, oh, you think snakes and spiders are bad? You guys need to watch out for drop bears. And then sent them all the drop bear links to their WhatsApp. And then we're clearly like, well, now I'm never coming to Australia because first I just thought I had to look where I have to walk, but now you're telling me I have to look up as well. And then eventually I let them in that bit more information about drop bears, and then basically they were kind of like, why is this not a thing? Why don't we know about this? Why don't you guys have a team like the Darwin drop bears or something? And then basically the fight name was given to me, and it just was perfect. Danielle, drop bear Curtis, and it suits my fight style, suits me, and that's just it. Now I am drop bear. Like, that's just who I am now. So it took on a life of its own. So one of my one of my absolute favorite things, and it was one of my goals from very, very early on with having this fight name, is a goal to fight internationally. And on, an international worldwide broadcast, have someone have to explain what a drop bear is. And I ticked that off with my last fight in Canada. So we had Canadian and American commentators. And, I let them know earlier in the week about my fight name and what a drop bear was. And it is the single greatest piece of commentary that you will ever watch when I'm walking out and they're explaining to everyone watching worldwide what a drop bear is, and it is the greatest. At some point I'm going to clip it and actually put it on my socials.
Oh, but, you have to.
It's the best. It's the absolute best.
Because that is absolutely unreal. I just... anyways, we could talk about drop bears for hours, but I also want to talk about your podcast.
Yeah. And that's called
how did that start?
The Drop Bear Downpour.
Yeah.
Well, basically a couple of things. Like, obviously I'm very passionate about combat sports and everything about it. And I just wanted to talk and recap about some things and answer some questions that people may have. But more than anything, I wanted to show the other side of the sport. I wanted to showcase the sport in a different light and basically talk about the topics that no one talks about. So I wanted people to be able to see that we are real human beings. Because one, Australians, we're really, really bad for being stoic, never showing emotion, never being vulnerable. And fighters are very, very bad for being stoic. So when you add them together, So I want to break that down a little bit too, because what I want to do is I want to showcase and show the behind the scenes, showcase that we're athletes, that we're real people, and we have all these things that we struggle with, whether it's confidence or body image, because, we're cutting weight stuff or even just the struggles as fighters we have or whatever. And showcase that to people, but also hopefully give a bit of help and advice to fighters, because we're all stoic. We don't talk to each other. Is one of those things. So something that I might talk about that I'm struggling with, probably 95% of other fighters are going through the same thing. And I've found that when I've talked with people, they're like, "Oh, I deal with the same thing. I thought it was only me." So there's that. I would just want to have those conversations, sort of break down some of the stigma and that kind of stuff, but also educate people. And I think it's really cool to show behind the scenes footage and stuff of some of my own fights. And then like the first couple of episodes was actually recapping the fight where I became triple champ, and I sat down with my partner and we actually talked about the whole experience, everything leading up to it, that fight, all of that kind of stuff. And it was so cool for me to actually sit down and ask him what it's like from his perspective as a partner, what's it like as a partner, even asking him, how do you feel on fight day, or when do you get the most nervous? So like that was a learning curve for me as well, even as a partner, even though he's been in my corner multiple times, we've done multiple fights, but sitting down and talking about it. I've got episodes coming up soon, actually, where I'm talking with my mum, who has been the most requested person on the podcast.
Mumsy.
Yeah, to see what it's like from her perspective, when people ask
Does Mum
her.
come watch the fights?
My mum loves it. She comes
really?
comes to every single fight that she can. And so if you watch any of my fights where she's there, on every single live stream, you will be able to hear her over the top of everyone. So my very first MMA fight, I traveled to Lithgow and I fought the hometown girl, right? She was from Lithgow. The whole room is everyone from Lithgow. And the promoter, it was her, like the promoter's fighter, like the person who put the fight show on, it was his fighter. So, and I fought her, and like there was literally my mum and a couple of friends that came to watch me. That was it. And all you can hear on the stream over the cornermen, over us, over the rest of the crowd is my mum screaming. So yeah, she does. She loves it. She loves it so much now that she actually loves the sport. So she'll watch the UFC as well. And every time, most times when I've gone to go to the UFC when it comes to Australia, she's like, so when you're buying tickets, she comes as well. She came over to Perth to watch Volkanovski fight last year. Yeah, she loves it. Really funny story. The first fight that she wasn't able to come to was when I traveled overseas to Amsterdam for the Gamma World Championships. And so the Gamma World Championships basically like the Olympics for MMA.
Yeah.
You weigh in every day. You have the potential to fight twice a day for multiple days because you're fighting the other countries. Yeah. So
2
that
a day.
was a couple of up to, depends how many people in your division and stuff, but same as kind of like boxing in the Olympics, except condensed over 3 days.
Wow.
So that was a big thing for her. So I actually had her, she had travelled up to Newcastle and was house sitting my house and my dogs while my partner Jared and I were overseas. So she got so nervous not being there in person to watch the fights, and it was raining, so she couldn't go anywhere. She nervous cleaned my whole house, including washing all the windows inside and out because she didn't know what to do with herself. And then the day of the final fight, when I made it to the final gold medal match. So during the week we'd gotten brand new neighbours that moved in next door, and she did country lady thing where she went and helped them move in because she was nervous and bored and didn't know what to do. So she helped them move their stuff in. So then that night, when she was watching me fight, it was morning over there in Amsterdam, but it was nighttime here in Australia.
Yeah.
She's watching me fight, and then I win the gold medal, and she starts screaming, like losing her mind, screaming, being like, "Go, Danielle, go!" That the neighbors called the police, and they're standing on the front porch yelling out to her, being like, "Linda, are you okay? I've got 000 on the phone."
Oh my gosh!
She had to tell them, "It's okay, girls. My daughter just became a world champion." I was like, that was good yelling. I'm not being killed.
Oh my god!
Kind of thing. And they had to tell 000, "It's okay. Sorry, false alarm."
Oh my god, that's the best.
Damn.
Yeah, so she's very into it.
That is absolutely unreal. Oh my! I can't believe that. I mean, that is like, I could just, listening to that story, I was getting like amped up, and then going through the motions of it, going, shit. I would feel the same. I wouldn't know what to do. And you know what? Nervous clean. That's a win for you, because coming back,
it was a big win for me.
Yeah, you know, I compete sometimes if your mum ever wants to come watch me or whatever.
Yeah. What's fight week like for you? I'm always curious for a fighter. What's fight week like? Do you shift and change in type of personality and who you are that week, just adjusting mentally to step in front of someone and have to fight them? Or does that sort of process happen on the day or when you hop in the ring? Because us as powerlifters, we're obviously not getting punched in the head, but we still have a competitive moment that we're gearing up for. And I'm always curious to see everyone takes it on.
Yeah, it's interesting. Fight week is kind of hell in itself for a different reason. Like a lot of people do start making that change through fight week. For me, that doesn't happen until fight day, because I don't like to do that, because I find it takes a toll on you, and I want to mentally not do that until I have to. And also, I personally, some fighters have to, like, in their mind, hate their opponent to be able to fight them. I don't have that. I just flip the switch, as in, this is a competitive thing. I need to do what I have to do to win. So I'm generally quite good friends with them at weigh-ins, whatever. But the week itself is so unique because you're weight cutting, and then you're actually doing all of your weight cutting strategies in that week. So that week we have been having lots of sodium and all that. Now we're having no sodium, we're water loading, we're eating a very specific diet, which is low residue, so low fiber, but also higher calorie, lower like actual volume. You know, obviously with no salt and, you know, very little carbs, nothing like that. So you're not eating anything like you normally eat. Working with a dietitian is a lot more fun than it is if you don't have them to help in terms of flavor and stuff, but it's certainly not enjoyable at all. But you do spend a lot of time during that week sort of focusing and reflecting and maybe visualizing and stuff. But for me, I don't flip that switch until fight day. And everything has a purpose. Everything you're doing that week has a purpose, but you're not really doing a lot of training. In terms of your training, that's already done. You'll do like maybe some cardio work or a burnout or just short, sharp stuff. For me, I get to weigh-ins. I rehydrate. Every moment from stepping on that scale has a purpose. Exactly what I do. And same with fight week. I have certain times, certain meals, certain things. Everything is so regimented to be able to make weight as safely as I can. Obviously, weigh-in day sucks. That's when you're doing your weight cut in a bath, sauna, sweatsuit, whatever it is that you do. That sucks. And then, fight day pretty much is when I start getting my hair braided, is when I start that's like when you have that physical representation. That's when it really starts changing. From fight day, when you wake up and you try to sleep in, because that is the longest day of your life. The time from when you wake up till, okay, we're going, that is the longest day of your life, and it feels like eternity because you can't do anything. You can't go anywhere. You can't give your mind a rest. So that's why I don't want to do any of this stuff until here because I have to. And yeah, that's where like I get tired on fight day as well. Like I'll eat big breakfast. I'm still rehydrating, refueling. Everything has a purpose, fight braids. Yeah, so it's big. That day is really, really big. But the rest of it is still a big thing, but for a different perspective. And in the rest of the week, there is nothing that you can tempt me with, even though I'm eating the crappiest food and I'm drinking heaps of water and I'm really uncomfortable. I'm going to the toilet every 2 seconds. If you tempt me with my favorite food, that is the one point where I'll be like, there is not a single thing in this world because I'm so close to fight time. I'm so close to the thing I want to do. There's nothing in this world that will tempt me from straying from this path. So it's really unique. But you're also, because you're in that big deficit at the end of all that training, you know, water loading, blah, blah, blah. They're some of your weakest moments as well mentally. So you have to be working on that just in general, more of like answering those questions, remembering all that information that you have to sort of combat any of those fleeting thoughts you may have. What if I'm not good enough? What if I get knocked out? What if they're better than me? Like, you know, you're definitely trying to work on that that week for sure.
Is there any element? Do you worry about the after effects of being, you know, too many strokes to the head, or if you have any big knockouts, if you were to ever have anyone like that? Is that anything that ever worries you for your future self?
Yeah, absolutely. Part of my fight style is to try and not get hit too much. And I definitely think I incorporate that a lot. Yeah. But I take all head knocks very, very seriously. And to be honest, I caught more damage to the head, probably more in training or in general injuries and stuff through training compared to fights. But it's definitely something that I'm always hyper vigilant of, and hyper vigilant in communicating with my coach and my team as well. Like if I think I have concussion symptoms or something similar, I've got a headache or a sensitive light or whatever, like communication, very specific what I'm doing after that, what, you know, but also even with chatting with my dietitian, because there are certain things that you can be doing with your diet to help aid in those kind of things. Obviously slowing down with my pro career too, to make sure that I've got ample time to make sure that my head is fine. Like I've been really, really lucky I shouldn't say lucky. I put a big emphasis, as I said, on trying not to get hit or take too much damage. So in my last 9 fights, I really haven't copped much of any damage to my head.
Nice.
So, you know, that's why I said I shouldn't say lucky, because it's exactly what I train for. But you've also got to not be scared of it, because that will greatly impact you and your ability to fight when you get in there. But yeah, I take it very, very seriously. We communicate a lot. Obviously, I'm lucky I have a great gym, great coaches, great training partners. We're all hyper vigilant of ensuring that we're not causing any damage. But accidents do happen, and of course you do take damage in fights. And it's just being hyper vigilant and knowing that I don't want to be a vegetable after fighting, and I do want to have, you know, a great quality of life outside of fighting. But it is definitely a big topic that always trying to address.
And be female MMA in Australia, that's up and coming. You don't see a lot of it too much, or there's definitely more and more females in the sport now than there ever have been, and there's more and more in Australia, which is great. I think I'm part of the next wave of fighters that are, you know, on the cusp of the big time. There's quite a few that have, you know, that are also making that international level right now. So other fighters like Jacinta Austin, Chelsea Hackett, Amina Hedaya, Lisa Kiriakou, you know, they're all coming through fighting overseas and stuff, and it's so good to see. It's amazing to see. So hopefully all of us will be in the big leagues very, very soon. of Team Australia
That'd be
dominating
fun.
the big shows would be unreal. Do you guys, like
That's
the girls at the top, do you guys all talk to each other? Everyone knows each other and is kind of supporting and help each other? Or is everyone kind of looking like, one day I'm going to go up against you and we're not going to be friends?
It depends on the fighter.
Yep.
I've made it very, very clear that I support everyone. Everyone that I've ever fought, I support. Everyone that I have fought, most of them I've known and followed and sort of somewhat been friends with prior to fighting as well. But I've definitely gone and trained with people I've fought with. I have rematched the same person and hung out with and trained with them and stuff. So for me, that's definitely not an issue. Some other people may not be like that in terms of happy to maybe support other females that aren't in their weight division. But for the most part, I'll say us Aussie females are pretty good. Like we're all business compared to a lot of other girls from other countries. So we can put feelings aside and be like, I'm happy to support, because we want more females in the sport, and realistically we want more in our weight divisions so that we can have fights. So
because that could be a challenge, like, because if it's not, I mean, like you say, it's up and coming with more females coming through, but the better you guys get at the top, there's less of you to actually have semi-regular fights against each other to showcase yourselves, right?
Yeah, and we want more to come through, and that's the thing, being a female, like, there's girls on the scene at the moment that have fought each other 3 times, and potentially multiple times at AMI and at Pro. So, and that's just because of what opportunities are around, to be able to have enough fight for an international organization to see you or get that exposure to then go and fight other people from other countries. So unfortunately, that's just part of the sport. And as I said, the women, for the most part in Australia, are really good. They're professionals, and they know it's just business. And so it's one of those things that everyone's kind of really respectful and polite. And I will say, from fighting overseas, Australian fighters in general, very, very professional. And
that's good.
Yeah, there's a very high standard here. Very, very high standard. So yeah, it's good to see.
When's the next fight? Is there plans yet? Because you got off a win. I did see the finish on the Instagram on one of your highlights. That was quite exciting. When's next?
It was a fun finish. Still figuring that out at the moment. So obviously it's always comes down to what opportunities are out there. Again, I want to have a bit of time between fights. I don't want to rush into fights. And also the last fight that I had, which I swear I wouldn't do at Pro. I swear that at Pro I wasn't going to jump around weight divisions. But the fight that I had recently ended up, went back up a weight division to fight someone because my opponent fell through. So on short notice, I stepped up in weight to fight someone with more experience. But got the job done.
That's what you got to do.
So I would like to go back down to my own weight division, and probably a bit later in the year. So I've got heaps of time to level up, probably do, get a bit fat, build strength again, and then cut down. So working on all of that with my dietitian and my strength and conditioning coach, and then my team and my manager in terms of seeing what opportunities are out there coming in. And time-wise, I think will be the main factor. But I'm also hoping to get on the next Palace Athena again in September, because I'd love to fight on their show again. I had such a great time. Hopefully it won't be as cold as this time, because when we first got into Canada, it was negative 40 degrees Celsius. That's right, 40.
That's chilly.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit.
That's cold.
I didn't know it got that cold, but
need to jump to that one.
Or 20.
That's insane.
So hopefully in September it'll be a little bit different. Maybe.
A little bit warmer.
Maybe it won't.
Only 2 jumpers.
I don't know how you get warm in that temperature, but before we start to wrap this up, we have 10 of the most very random questions you'll ever receive in your life, just to get a bit more of an idea of Danielle behind Drop Bear. So Johnny will lead these questions. These are rapid fire. First thing that comes to mind.
I love it.
Go.
Favorite takeaway food?
Mexican or Chinese?
Ooh, Gun.
Favorite way to celebrate?
Food.
Nice. We got this one, but I'll ask it again. City you're born in?
Hey.
Hey.
In New South Wales.
Did you have or have you any other nicknames other than Drop Bear?
Yeah, but they're not fun. They're just like Danny, DC, D.
Yep.
Curtis.
Got it. The standard ones.
Drop Bear's the main one.
That's the one. Question you'd like to ask your future self?
Question I'd ask my future self. Are you proud? Are you proud of yourself?
Biggest, have you experienced a life-changing event?
Yeah. Winning the gold medal representing my country, flag, medal, and obviously the national anthem. And the reason why that also changed my life is that that was a self-funded trip, and I actually did a GoFundMe. And I was having that internal struggle of like asking people for money, but also struggling to believe in myself. And then I was like, if all these people believe enough in me to give me their money to help go over there, I need to believe in myself. And then I did. And then,
Love
it was pretty crazy.
Your favorite word?
That's fair.
I'm Australian, so that could have went really badly.
That's my favorite word, and I know the one you're thinking of.
Favorite photo?
Either the one of me, the Triple Champ photo, that's one of my favorite photos of all time, or one of the ones from my most recent fight with the flag on top of the cage.
That's the one you sent us. It looks sick.
Yeah.
What day's your bin day?
For them. Monday.
That's it.
I love
that how
one.
they're like. Yeah, I like how they're all like, what's something you want to ask your future self? Bin day. Gets me every time.
I love it.
Also, I find it so like when you're like, what are your other nicknames? It's like DC. It's like the classic Australian nickname is just shortening or abbreviating the name as much as we can.
Well, growing up, I always got called by my last name, even by my teachers, everybody. It was just Curtis.
Yeah.
Classic.
I've never understood it, hey.
Classic.
Yeah.
But I do it.
Mm-hmm.
We all do
Anyways.
It's either shorten everything or annoyingly put an A or an O on the end.
Yes.
Brando.
Yeah.
Literally. And people just, literally though, but everyone just drops the N off my name and then I just get Brando.
Yeah.
So crazy. Anywho, Danielle, we can't thank you enough for giving up your time and talking to us two idiots for the last hour and sharing your story with our listeners. It's fucking absolutely incredible and inspirational, and I know there's a lot of people out there who will be taking a lot away from this, so please give yourself a shout out. Where can people find you, your podcast? We'll do that social thing.
Yeah, awesome. Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me on. It's been great, and I've loved chatting with you guys. You can find me on all social media just by searching Drop Bear MMA. All my social media is Drop Bear MMA. For my podcast, it's Drop Bear Downpour. That's the podcast. And if you've been following me for a while, thank you guys so much for all the support. But if you're brand new to meeting me and hearing my story and want to follow along, I also just want to say a massive thank you because at the end of the day, fighting is a sport, and all sports, I guess, for entertainment, if boil it all down. So without the people watching, it wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here.
Exactly. So. Without fans, sport wouldn't exist. So could not agree more. But we'll put links in the show notes to your Instagram or your socials as well as your podcast. So again, thank you so much. Look after yourself. Can't wait to see and follow your journey. And we will talk soon.
Thank you so much, guys.